This is Ace at the Plate on WCWPSports.org.
All right. Hello, everybody. How's it going today? So, you're here listening to Ace at the Plate, and currently this happened. I don't think it happened last week, but it happened 2 weeks ago. My co-host is actually stuck in traffic. Apparently there was an accident. Listen, things happen. But that means, the show's going to go on. He'll walk in here soon. But, there's a lot to talk about today. People think, because the baseball season is over that, there's nothing to talk about. But really, in reality, there's just as much. Because the trade rumors are constant throughout the offseason. And yeah, there's a period of quietness, but we're going to have a lot more interaction with our viewers. I'm going to try and get a telephone set up. You guys could call in. I know some people who listen would like to call in live, give their opinions. And plus, this is really great for theory crafting. This is a baseball talk show. It's just an amazing show. The only show that I know, and I wish there was a show that this is why I started this show, is because it runs year round. And I love baseball. It's the only sport I watch. But we're going to get started, actually, because, I don't want time to waste. We got a lot of stuff to talk about with or without my co-host who will be coming in. But anyway, listen. The GM meetings will take place in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they started already. It starts today at November 7th, and it's going to go through the 10th. Now, this is what Matthew Cerrone writes. I'm going to quote him. Typically during the day, GMs and their staff will spend more time discussing business about the game. However, in addition to conferences and meetings about league issues, the GM meetings are used for teams to meet, talk about agendas, player values, off-season plans, and learn who plans to do what and who may be available as everyone looks to improve the position through the offseason. So this is big news because, as Matthew Cerrone reports, it used to be really about just the business of the game, the state of the game. But now, especially with this free agent market, because this is a very weak free agent market, that this is just now, it's just a huge deal. It's a ginormous deal because not a lot of people are I'm just trying to put my thoughts together, but the reason why it's a big deal is because this is a very weak free agent class, right? There isn't a lot of good players. There's only a few good players, and then the rest are, I'm not going to say that they're bad players, they're just not really exciting. And that means that there's probably going to be more trade activity than in just the usual packed free agent class offseason. And it seems like that if trading is going to be a big factor, then this is important because GMs are in the same room. They're all talking. Some GM, the Pirates GM talking about McCutchen. I mean, he might be like, listen, McCutchen's on the chopping block. He's on the trade block. And they said that they'll trade if something blows him away. And there's nothing holding him back from being traded. If the right deal comes along, he will trade Andrew McCutchen. And I'm just saying, I'm not suggesting this, but I'm just saying, if Sandy Alderson, as an example, were to go up and say, look, I'm interested, they could talk. I'm not saying that it's going to be a revolutionary thing, but it's great. My co-host just walked in now. How's the traffic? He's going to set up his mic. We're just getting into the big topic. We're talking about how the GM meetings have started. So just get set up and we'll be good. But yeah, so that's why the GM meetings are important because of the significant amount of trades that might be happening in the offseason because of just the weak free agent class. And that's what's been speculated among a lot of the beat writers and stuff and a lot of beat reporters that a lot of the teams are going to go the trade route instead of necessarily signing that big free agent. Because as we know, there's only 3 or 4 guys that are really, really, really impactful, and that's already debatable with Jose Bautista having down years and Edwin Encarnacion both having great years, but they've been on the downturn. And if they're on the wrong end of their career, then people aren't going to maybe offer what, let's just say you would offer Jason Hayward or something like that, who also that deal was insane. Here, my Doug's here. I just turned on the mic for him. So, Doug, we're talking about the GM meetings, possible things that go down. Apparently, it's going to be a big one this time because, like I was saying, with the trade market. What do you think? Do you think that trades are going to be the way to go in this offseason for a lot of teams, considering that the free agent hitters market is so weak?
I mean, we've. It's kind of interesting you say that because it's been noted that, as you said, it's a weak free agent class. But specifically, there's a lot of factors going into this whole entire winter meetings that I'll be going into, such as the qualifying offer at $17.2 million. A lot of teams are hesitant to be giving those to players, but those that do give to players, it really impacts the market for those individual players.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the next MLB Players Association, how their next agreement will be going in regards to this. So I think we'll be seeing, especially since it's a very weak starting pitching class.
It's just a week all around.
The reliever market's very strong. That's why for the Mets it's very positive.
We have additions. We have stuff to update you, but that's going to be later in the program. But one thing I was talking about before you came in was the possibility and why this is such a big deal is that this is the first time the GMs meet before the winter meetings, and stuff gets talked, especially now in these days. Baseball, this used to be a few years ago. This used to just be a routine managerial, not managerial, just like a general state of the game thing. Now it's sort of a thing where, okay, you got him on the trading block. I'll keep that in mind for the winter meetings. This is time for Sandy Alderson to go out there and see what he wants, because there are players available on the trading block, and I gotta admit, I definitely think this is a weak free agent class. I just think this is the weakest one I can remember in a long time, Doug. Have you seen one this week? This is it.
For the back end reliever market, it looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
But besides that, because that's always been a very murky type of area, because it's always you could take a starting pitcher who is a highly touted prospect, and if he hasn't been able to command his fastball throughout the second time through rotation, then maybe put him into the back end of the bullpen, because there always has been internal options. But as we look forward now for this free agent class, I don't know. I mean, we've already seen that there's been a significant increase in the amount of trades that have been going on, not only during the off-season, the winter meetings, but during in-season.
It's just, it's crazy.
Well, because also because there's so much value that players are being overpaid. As you mentioned, Jason Hayward getting 7 years, $185 million for a player who's hitting close to the Mendoza line, who basically and also can't even hit a lick. Like, if you're hitting near the Mendoza line, at least give 25 to 30 home runs to offset that batting average. But this guy was just doing jack crap.
Yeah.
And so for now, when we're looking at the whole entire market as a whole, it would really seem prudent for teams to be looking for, I don't know, maybe trading some prospects that they don't need at this moment, or being blocked by players on the major league level, and trying to parlay some money into having prospects trade off instead. As we've seen in the past, I forget, like Yoenis Cespedes, when he came over to the Mets first, I think there was $5 million that was taken off of his original contract from the Tigers. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about that, because I think that's more of the soft type of move that you'll see from these GMs, like Theo Epstein, for instance. I'm sure that he'll be willing and dealing and doing certain
It's going to be
it's
a big deal. And by the way, it started today and it goes till the 10th. So I mean, it's just multiple days. I don't know. I read the article from Matthew Cerrone on here. I read a quote from here. They basically talk about the offseason plans and just the general state of baseball, and then GMs could always just talk about whatever they want to talk about coming up prior to the winter meetings. So if that means making a deal, there's been deals made. It's not that common, but there's been deals made at these meetings. I don't think
not going to be a deal. This is just formality settings.
Well, already
where it's kind
stuff
of
has happened.
Well, it's more of just like a social club amongst the elites of the MLB community, where it's like, all right, we haven't seen each other. This off-season's bad. Like, all right, let's bash the other guys who didn't do so good. Like, everyone wants to see Theo and be like, oh, great job, young gun. So it's more of just like a formality where people just start spinning some wheels. They have dinner. Maybe one of the more important things I remember from it, actually, is that they try to lock down their guys that are currently on the roster, or meet up with some agents and try to gauge interest. So it's basically just to test the waters and just get back acclimated into being like, all right, we're not in the middle of the season where we're trying to freaking spin and deal everywhere. This is more of that they're playing the long game of chess instead of putting checkers at forefront to try to capture the king, which is the World Series.
Yeah, it's just, again, the free agent market is weak. So, and of course, I don't know when the winter meetings are exactly, but I'm excited for it. I'm gonna definitely look that up. I know it's probably in December. I would say it's before Christmas, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, no, it is. I think it's slightly before Christmas, because Yoenis signed last year on January 26th, and that was well after the meetings.
That was well after the meeting. So definitely those are. I mean, look, that's next month. I mean, before you know it, once Thanksgiving comes, it's basically going to be that time of the year where, It's cold. Christmas is coming, and the winter meetings are coming, and that's where rumor mill gets out of control. And I mean, winter meetings, I think last year was relatively quiet, but the year before last year, it was just insane of just the rumors and the things like that. And, listen, this is the type of stuff that happens, with baseball. So you're probably going to hear some crazy stuff. And again, some interesting players to look out for. Andrew McCutchen is on the trading block. Of course, the Pirates, they were like, he's not untouchable. Like if the deal is right, they'll pull the trigger. And I'm not saying that's a guy the Mets should have to go after. I mean, he's a good player, but there are players on the chopping block. I really think that we're going to see trades, big trades this offseason, rather than the teams are going to get their signings, and that's going to be it. I feel like there's going to be a lot of creativity because the offseason, the free agent class is so weak, and it's just incredible. And again, happy for the Cubs also. I don't know if you saw them on SNL. They were on SNL. I don't watch SNL really. I only watch it on YouTube. But they were all on SNL, and what was it, David Ross, Dexter Fowler. David Ross was on the Red Sox team that broke the curse, or no?
I think he might have been the 2007 winning team because it was him, Lester as well, and Lackey I think was on it too.
On the Red Sox, right?
Yeah, on the Red Sox, and also they had Theo Epstein as the general manager.
Now,
so
I saw something. He's now been nicknamed the Curse Breaker.
Oh, Theo Epstein?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this guy. I mean, well, when we get back from the break, we'll talk about a rundown and analysis of the World Series Games 6 and 7. But for the meantime, right now, Theo Epstein is a god. I love the guy. I wish to all heaven above that he was where Sandy Alderson was.
Well,
I'm sorry. Sandy's done a decent job, but this kid, and I could call him kid because he's in his 30s, and he's broken the two most prodigious curses in all of sports.
It's an impressive
This
feat.
guy is... He's everything to baseball. This guy, he just, you know what? They're going to get a car for him to bring him to the Hall of Fame. That's how much they love this guy.
He's definitely Hall of Fame. Bruce Bochy, Hall of Fame. These are guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fames, when they retire or whatever. Theo Epstein's going to take a while because he's going to be in the business for a long time.
Oh, he's going to be there for the next 40 years. That's why every Red Sox fan has got to be kicking themselves right now.
I can't blame Sandy too much because I really don't think it's his fault, believe it or not.
For what?
I think it's the owners. A lot of the busts. And a lot of the cheapness.
No, you're going to get bust. You can't have a perfect record. Theo Epstein, he's done everything right, and he's still even signed Jason Hayward.
I think he has unlimited reign. Is that's the difference?
Who, Theo Epstein?
Yeah, way more of a money budget. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I guess his budget is kind of near Yankee level, but it's not exactly like we're looking at the Dodgers, where it's all right, sign everyone underneath the sun, and we'll try to figure it out.
All I'm saying is that he's again, the Mets' budget is terrible. I mean, for a big market team. I think the offseason might open up with 100, as it stands now without Cespedes and stuff, $100 million.
No, that's 140 or something like that.
No, I don't know. But I think, and listen, if you're going to run a team cheaply, that's fine. But I also don't think they're running it smart. I wouldn't even tender Duda a contract. I think it's just a waste of money. I also think that, it's fine that you signed Bruce. I'm fine that they re-opted it, and we'll get to that. But I just think that, you got to flip him. And if not, then keep him there. But I don't know how well he could handle New York. And I don't think he likes New York.
Wait, who, Duda?
Bruce.
Oh, Bruce? He's always been more of a small town type of guy. I mean, Cincinnati, it's not that large of a metropolitan area. And also he had Joey Votto and other names to really stand out to block from him being ultimately criticized. But in a town like this, it's difficult. He did have a couple of clutch hits towards the end, but getting back to saying, we'll discuss that later for the Mets. But staying on general MLB topics, I'm talking with Theo. Theo Epstein. The guy is an absolute legend. I'm sorry, I can't say enough. Theo Epstein. He brought back the curse when he was a 30-year-old, 29-year-old, I think, is when he was signed by the Red Sox. And he said, I'm going to turn this franchise around. Wins 2 World Series with him. This guy comes to the Cubs in 2011, almost 5 years to the date. He says, give me 5 years and we're going to win a World Series. And what happens? He breaks a 108-year curse. This guy is one of the coolest dudes I've ever seen.
He's really cool.
Afterwards, he doesn't even have the words for it. Instead, he just splashing champagne around with Bill Murray. Bill Murray.
Yeah,
one of my ultimate heroes.
Heroes.
The guy, it's incredible. And then he says, he even has the gall to say, he's just you know what? I'm going to go on a bender until the GM meetings start. And I believe the guy 110% that he went on a bender. Which, fun fact, you know what a bender was? A bender was actually a 6-pence type of coin used in England England. And actually, since it was silver, you can bend it. It was known that you could buy only booze with it because it was so cheap. So there we go. A little fun fact to go in there.
All
and
right,
snap
you
fact.
learn something new every day. Another general manager that, one of them, he's not really general manager anymore, but just one that because whenever we talk about GMs, I think about this guy, and that's there's two guys. One, the Nationals GM, who I despise. I despise the Nationals GM, and we're going to get to that Fox article also, because I got to talk about this Fox. I got pictures of it. This Fox article. Listen, Fox is not like a terrible organization or something. Like, it's not that. It's just that their predictions are dead wrong. And if you go on the Facebook, because they posted on Facebook, not one, I couldn't see a comment that was like, wow. I mean, listen, everyone could make there be a troll online and stuff. They had some wacky predictions of where some players are ending up, and we'll get into that later. But listen, I don't know how I got on this Fox topic. How did I get on that?
Yeah, I was wondering. That's fine. It's fine. We were going. We'll come back to it. I mean, when we come back.
No, how did I get? I meant to talk about the Nationals GM. Oh yeah, well I got it from the Nationals GM. But man, him sitting out Strasburg in that division series, what was it in 2012? That was just I to this day I don't understand it. To this day, I just don't get it. And he was like, "Oh, we're gonna be back."
Well, that's because it was in the tepid age of like the game, which thankfully I think it's gonna be starting to change back now onto itself. But that's when everyone wanted to make sure these price commodities, and everyone was constantly thinking about the future instead of the here and now.
What's the point of the future without taking the risk of pitching? I mean, this is the postseason. I mean, forget about people's careers. This is the postseason.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like now, like, that's completely gone back to that mentality where it's old school, hard-nosed, grinding in there, saying, you know what, this is the here, this is the now, we're here to win, and this is what it's about. And back then, they were just thinking about the future because they were like a weak team finally coming up. But now, we'll discuss it more, especially as this World Series. When we break down the analysis, we'll see
We're going to come back after the break, and we're going to break down Game 7, Game 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. See you then.
Youth is a gift of nature, but age is a work of art. Learn to appreciate life after retirement through the arts and entertainment on Senior Moments. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 right here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
You're listening to Ace at the Plate.
Talking about Game 6 and 7 of the World Series. So go ahead. What did you think about it, Doug? I know we talked about it a little bit, but or at least I think we did. I'm like, did we talk about the World Series? I thought we did, but apparently not. So anyway, go ahead.
No, because last week was when we were talking about it, we were trying to figure out when we were going to break it down. But man, can you ask for a better game ever? I mean, that was the greatest game of baseball. I mean.
I lost a bet. I bet that the Indians would win, and with this kid Nardello, and he's in one of my broadcasting classes, and the bet was that if the Indians ended up winning, he would have to jump in the fountain in in front of Humanities, and if the Cubs won, which they did, I would have to go up to everyone in my class and flip them off, including the professor, which I did. I just, just chill.
Really?
Yeah, I just said, I came up in front of the class. I said, guys, I need to make an announcement. I lost a bet. The Cubs are World Series champions, and now I will proceed to flip you all off. And I flipped everyone off. And listen, honor. I didn't get in trouble. I mean, come on, everyone's so chill in the broadcasting industry, It wasn't like I wasn't like going up to teacher and saying, F you, but I flipped everyone off. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, man, that's that's awesome. I'm sorry.
It was a great game, especially Game 7. Game 7 was crazy.
I mean, Game 6 is overshadowed by the greatness of Game 7.
Well,
I mean, Game 6 was like 10-2, 10-4 as the final score. Yeah. So it really was out of striking distance. But Game 7 had everything from the first at bat to the last at bat.
Well, when Chapman came back out, by the way, the pitchers were gassed. Okay, pitchers were out of gas. Every pitcher was out of gas. It was insane.
Well, I mean, even out of gas for Chapman is that he's still breaking. He's pitching 100
miles an hour.
No, he was up to 99 to 100.
No, but I'm talking about in the 8th inning.
No, he was like. I mean, he went down to like 98, 99, but he was doing a slider. That's the reason you saw this because when he let up that first home run to Rajai Davis. He was throwing straight 10 consecutive fastballs. And they realized because he didn't have enough life on his ball. I mean, he did have the speed on the ball, but he wasn't exactly getting the rotation to throw them off balance. So that's why he went strictly back to the slider when he went up for the next 8th inning. But, I mean, the game started off with such a fury and a bang. Dexter Fowler leading off the game with a home run for Game 7.
Talk about Dexter Fowler.
Phenomenal hitting. I mean, switch hitter, this guy, he had like 287. He's great.
I
great.
love the guy.
And it wasn't just the environment of Rockies.
Could I just tell you that also is that a great that you bring up Dexter Fowler. We will talk about him. But one thing that I think the kid really did, because last year I was not high on him. Last year I was not high on Dexter Fowler. This year the kid completely changed my perspective. He had a problem with hitting righties. This year he hit like 270-something, a lot better than like the 210 he was hitting last year against righties. And against lefties he hits 300. So, 293, but that's basically 300. I'm fine with that. But we're going to talk about that after. But, yeah, man, Game 7 was wild, man. I remember when the Indians got up, because I thought it was over the whole time until the Indians tied at 6-6. And when that happened, I go, the curse is alive. It's alive and well. And I'm sure all those Cubs fans were really flipping out, but boy, who hit the final one? Was it was David Ross? Or
no,
what?
So Dexter Fowler led off the game, smashing off Corey Kluber, who you could tell coming back on 3 days rest, having pitched like 3 games in 6 days, it was just not to be for him. But Corey Kluber led up that home run to Dexter Fowler lead off the game. And then you've got Chris Bryant single, then you got Anthony Rizzo getting hit, then there's a sacrifice fly. But then you get Javier Baez blasting a 408-foot shot over the wall in right center to lead off the 5th, and Kluber was out of the game. But then you see on the opposite side is that these Indians were not done. They'd been up 3-1. They were not afraid to claw and scratch their way back to the top. And that's exactly what they did. What you're referring to is the Rajai Davis home run, which they were down 6-4, dead in the mud, 8th inning. And you could tell, and Chapman's up there. And the speedster, the guy who led the league in stolen bases this year, who only had hit 12 home runs, which everyone was like, oh, my God, that's phenomenal. Astronomical numbers for this guy. Clubs a home run that I felt the chills and the pins and needles going throughout my whole entire body, that I jumped up and I gasped. And I don't even like these teams. They're not my teams. But I was rooting all the way for this to happen. Going 6-6 into the 8th, having this guy just club it, like literally just reaching down and bam, off of Aroldis Chapman, the fastest, hardest throwing pitcher in all baseball history. And this guy, one of the fastest guys in the game, overpowers him and hits it out. A guy who's supposed to be untouchable. On the other side, you have Andrew Miller, who's supposed to be untouchable. And this whole entire game throws everyone backwards on its heel and says Andrew Miller gives up the runs. Aroldis Chapman gives up the runs. And it's just the poet. It's the poetry of baseball. It's something that you fall in love with the game, to see things like this happen, that bucks the trend, that all the numbers are going to say it should go otherwise, and yet these miracles happen. And I'm shocked. The game also is telling us about how it's actually changing, the perspective how pitchers are being used. Kyle Hendricks started the game, and while he did have a little bit of lackluster command to start off the game, he only let up 1 run. And this is a guy who was the greatest pitcher in all of baseball during the regular season. And he was still taken out in, I think, the 5th inning by Joe Maddon. And it's really telltale about where the direction of baseball is going now. Because these managers, Terry Francona and Joe Maddon, showed they're not afraid to bring in their best back-end relievers, no matter what it is. They're not doing it situationally, saying only 8th or 9th inning. No, it's you got your best guys up right now. We're in a situation where we need the momentum to swing back and forth. That's who they're sending out. And that's why Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman came in at unprecedented times in the 5th inning, 6th, 7th innings. I mean, it's like baseball just went back about 50 years. Instead of letting those guys go 10 innings, we're letting them go 3 innings, and we're just doing what we can to make the best pitchers out there.
You know, Mike Francesa said this point, and this World Series was the first World Series ever where I don't think a starter went into the 7th. And that just tells you, and it's funny because it shows that, you know, we always have this structure in the regular season. It's like the structure. You could let him go 5, and then he could go more, and then you bring in the setup, then you bring in the closer. But that, in the postseason, that goes out the window. Anything could happen. All those pitchers and the relievers, all of them, relievers, starters, anyone has got to be ready for anything because people are going to be in games where you're going to be, you know, the setup man might usually never pitch the 5th, but then he's going to be there. The closer might be in the 5th. You know, even though you don't pitch these innings, you know, it's a different feel and it's a different experience, and it's just listen, the World Series is great. We talked about the ratings last week, and it seems to have gone on with a hit. The people in Chicago are crazy. I have a friend who lives in Chicago, And I talked to him, and he's like, man, Chicago's crazy. And he's a Cardinals fan, so he's not happy. But, listen, the World Series was great. I'm happy that the viewership was up. That's about as good as I hate the Cubs that much. I just hate them. I just don't like them at all. Still don't like them.
No, now you're allowed to hate them with all your heart. Because they broke the record. Before, yeah, but it's kind of like you have like a little thing in the back of your head that's like, well, it'd be kind of nice.
Now
for
we're
people.
never gonna hear the end of it.
No, because they're gonna be like we're the reigning champs, and like the thing is we have to deal with this for the next 5 years with all the talent that they've accumulated. There's no way they're going to let it die down. But the game was just magical. It was magical. David Ross, in his last game ever that he announced before the season that he's retiring, in Game 7, he hits a 406-foot blast of dead center that really was actually a very important home run. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone to extra innings. Yeah. And to make that his last game was something of beauty. And that he was a scoring run because they had Chris Coughlin go in for him when he walked. So everything was just kismet. And then the 9th inning, they had everything going for them, and then there was a rain delay, a 20-minute rain. That was the tears of Chicago and Cleveland combined, raining down from the heavens to wash away all the feelings that you've had and mustered up to that point. Because the back and forth, the shock and awe. Like, I think I saw Theo Epstein live and die 6 times during that game. And coming back, oh my God, to see that happen, it was like the tears from heaven were dropping down to let us know baseball and glory to God is great. And then we got it coming back. It was like the whole entire season didn't matter. All that mattered now was this inning. And everything before that was just like it was just an audition for that 10th inning to see who was the best team in all of baseball.
Yeah, man. And listen, it was a great World Series. And, I want to get into this article, though. This is a big article that I read this morning before class. And there's a lot of bold predictions. I can't believe I mentioned it already. Like I don't know what happened to my brain there, but we're back in reality. I don't know how I got into that, but so there's a lot of predictions that they say. We're gonna get into the big one after, but the Dexter Fowler, they predict at Fox Sports, is going to the Mets. And we talked about Dexter Fowler. Here's what it says. As he went, so did the Cubs. So it's hard to see him leaving Chicago, even if he would be blocking multiple young prospects. The Mets seem like the play here. Chicago has the cash, but won't be able to outbid New York. What team have they been watching? Outbid New York? New York doesn't want to get into a bidding war for Yoenis Cespedes. Are they going to get into a bidding war for this guy? I don't know. Probably.
Wait, Dexter Fowler? Who would they be bidding against?
No idea. They didn't mention.
They just put a nebulous thought out there. Right, just says they're going to be going to a bidding
prediction. And listen, he's a great player, but man, that is what you're doing right now. You're really calling it right now. Dexter Fowler, and again, this is like one of those articles to keep people reading and stuff. But boy, and you'll never guess where they put I think I told you, but you'll never guess where they put Yoenis Cespedes, because I clicked the article and I go, Cespedes is going to the Nationals. That's what this guy's going to say. And he said it. And I'll tell you why that is unbelievably wrong. But let me just read you what he said. The premier player on the market, Cespedes represents legitimacy for contention to almost any team in baseball. Few teams will not at least explore the possibility of handing him somewhere around $30 million a year. The Nationals need another bat to protect Bryce Harper in the lineup, and Cespedes adds the benefit in that signing hurts him in an immediate rival. That would certainly help justify the cost. But here's the thing. The Nationals offered him 5 years, $100 million, and he turned it down, for one reason. Not because he likes the Mets, not because of this or that, not because, he likes New York City. He turned it down because there was a lot of deferred money in the contract, meaning that he would get the money later. And listen, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. I don't know if that's a financial thing for Washington, but in a year, are they going to pay even more than $100 million? Because it's going to be more than $100 million. Are you going to pay him more than $100 million and not have the deferred money? Has his opinion changed? Is he getting more desperate for the deferred money? Maybe he just is not interested in deferred money at all. And I just don't think that he will sign with the Nationals. I think he's going to sign with the Giants, but I don't see him on the Mets. There's just no way, unless this team is committed to winning, and I don't think they are. A lot of people see that they could get him back, and I'm not saying Cespedes gone is necessarily the end, but it's probably the end. I mean, Dexter Fowler is no Cespedes, and I don't know what Dexter Fowler could be by himself without being in that Cubs lineup, with all the hitters around him. But again, nothing has started yet. We haven't technically lost Cespedes. Cespedes opted out of his contract, which everyone knew that he was going to do that. So it's not a surprise. What do you think about these two guys? What about Dexter Fowler? Is this a guy the Mets should definitely go after? Because I don't think there's space for him. They would have to trade an outfielder. It's too much space. I mean, we have Lagares. That's the thing. What do you think about Fowler in center? Because that's where we play.
I mean, besides Juan Lagares, there's no true center fielder that can play the position well. Everyone else is kind of just like a stopgap until someone else can try to figure it out, which the Mets just seem to be okay with doing a merry-go-round this past year. And we saw that wasn't exactly the best choice. I'm more interested in the idea. I mean, Dexter Fowler, he's a switch hitter, which is always proven commodity for the Mets.
It's great. That's amazing.
His on the offensive side, he's mostly a leadoff hitter. I mean, we already have Jose Reyes and Asdrubal Cabrera, so where are you going to slot this guy exactly? I mean, he does have a little bit of power. I mean, his slash line was, wow. I mean, he did have 393 on-base percentage and a 447 slugging, which is OPS. Damn, that's pretty solid, actually. I mean, we're looking at like an 840 on-base plus slugging, which is kind of
And his on-base alone is good, right? Is it good?
But, yeah, no, his on-base alone is 393, which is very, very good because the Mets, I'm pretty sure, averaged 330 last year.
It's an improvement.
So, I mean, it'd be an improvement, but then you've got a logjam, as we discussed before, where you've got Michael Conforto, like, potentially manning left, and you've got Jay Bruce and right, and then what do you do about Curtis Granderson? The only way we can get out of this situation
is we got to trade.
Is that you got to make a package somehow. You don't have. I would say Curtis would probably be the most prudent answer because the Mets would be probably willing to eat up a chunk of his contract to possibly get back a young, under control. I mean, get a young, uncontrolled maybe reliever of some sort. I'm not sure. I'm just snowballing some ideas.
Like, I don't want to see Curtis go, but I feel like he's the easiest. He or Bruce would be the easiest one.
Well, Bruce, I could see being actually transferred over to being a first baseman if the Mets feel so inclined to do so.
That is also a possibility. And here's the thing about Bruce is that 30 home runs he's going to hit. Okay, he's going to hit 30 home runs next year, even if he is in a Mets uniform. And that's a commodity in this day. And he's $13 million. That's chump change. So the Mets could keep him. The Mets could flip him. Because cheap contract, 30 home runs at least.
I mean, if the Mets are going for it, I don't see the flipping.
You don't see the flipping?
Nah, because I mean, it's only 1 year, so like for any other team, it would just be a signal to the Mets fans that it's just like, all right, we're giving up this year.
Well, think about it, Jay Bruce. He's too streaky, man. We got a lot.
He's not as streaky as Lucas Duda.
Well, they both need to go. You know, in my opinion, if I was the GM, I would try and flip Bruce. If not, okay, we could keep Bruce. Duda's got to go. There's no justification, in my opinion.
No, yeah, Duda, there makes no sense because it actually creates more problems than does solutions.
I don't like Duda on the team. I don't like him on the team. He's just not a good team player like that. It's not that he's a good team player. It's just that he's too streaky. The team is already having trouble with on base. He's just not helping anyone.
Yeah, and also with his back, the problems they had was back breaking your cervical column.
It's unfair to Mets fans to keep him as the starting first baseman.
Yeah, it really is. It's just kind of slap in the face. Be like, okay, remember the good old times? Let's keep that hope alive, but we're never going to get there.
In 2015, never going to forget, where he had his literal 2-month, maybe 3-month slump. It was unbelievably bad. I saw him swinging at pitches that were on his ankles. I go, Duda, you got to go. I call in Steve Summers. I'm like, you got to put Travis d'Arnaud. This is back when Travis d'Arnaud was good. I'm like, you got to put Travis d'Arnaud at first base. I'm like, you got to teach him.
If he could hit it, that would have been a good idea.
I mean, the guy has the bat for it at the time. He had a bat for it, and the only problem is he's short. I mean, give me a break. All right, just put the guy at first. But now the catching is in question. And listen, I don't know about the catching. Believe it or not, if the Mets don't get Wilson Ramos, I don't think there's anyone worth giving a lot to. Because
wait, you mean of the catchers?
Yeah, Matt Wieters. No, I mean he's going to be so overvalued in this weak free agent. I mean, I see him getting a good deal actually, and that's sad.
For catching? I don't know because I feel like the market's getting smarter. It's trying to correct itself after wild spending, where it's like starting pitching. Yeah, I can see like a wild spending like Yoenis. But for someone like a catcher like that,
You got to keep Rivera though. That's a given. There's no excuse if Rin Rivera isn't on the roster opening day.
Yeah.
He's got to be either the starter or the backup because one of the two is fine. He has an arm. He's Syndergaard's personal catcher, if anything. He's David Ross of the Mets. You know, David Ross was, I think, only Lester's catcher.
Yeah, he was only Lester's catcher, so he was
That's it.
providing the trade.
That's the
It was
only
kind of
thing,
like A.J.
so-
Ellis and Clayton Kershaw, even though they broke that one up.
So, I mean, listen, some pitchers need it. Syndergaard is particularly weak in some areas when, I mean, it got better, but it's still sort of his trouble when people get on base. And that's fine. You have a personal catcher like Rin Rivera who is throwing people out with his arm. That's a guy we need on this team. I don't see a problem with the Mets getting Rin Rivera. I don't think he's got like this giant bidding war market.
Wait, for Rene Rivera?
Yeah.
No.
So I think we're fine in that
No,
department.
everyone has like one catcher like him where they can hope he gets on a hot streak, but he's great at framing. He can throw out guys.
Great guy. Also seems like a really great guy. And hey, listen, he did a great job. So definitely get Rivera back. Darno's the biggest dude. Like, we don't know. I actually saw a thing on the Brewers blog. Believe it or not, like, look at me scouring the Brewers. Oh, man, it was like, I can't remember what exactly the trade was, but they mentioned Travis d'Arnaud, and I was like, you want Travis d'Arnaud? Listen, the failed prospect, it happens, but he's not like, I'm telling you, if that guy would ever stay healthy throughout a whole season or most of the season, he could have a decent year.
I mean, that was like last year. I mean, it was like he played 75 games, right? d'Arnaud?
The guy didn't have a good year. I mean, it's simple as that. The guy didn't have a good year. It's unfortunate. I mean, that's just what happens. And, I just can't say anything else on it. The catching positions is big trouble. In like 2015, at the end of the World Series, it was like, okay, d'Arnaud has terrible defense, but he hits. And that's what this team wants, hitters, and we still need it. It's still one of our biggest problems is that we're just not good we're not good in the clutch. We're not good at the hitters. So his offense kept him in the number one slot because no other team, if they had, I mean, offense is a huge commodity around baseball these days. So that he's like Mike Piazza, except not nearly as good. I mean, his offense kept him in. Obviously, he wasn't that great defensively, but that's just how it is. Now, with him not even performing offensively, he loses a lot of value. That's how important his bat is to his game. And I don't know if the Mets are going to give up with him, but my prediction is they're just going to go start fresh with d'Arnaud and put him there at catching. And you know what? To be honest, I don't have a problem with it. I know you might, but I feel like Ken Plawecki's worse. I've seen worse.
Yeah, I don't want him touching the
I've
major league
seen
roster.
more, but I've seen
Him
worse.
and Soup can just
And he's
whittle
got
away and die
potential.
in
He's
AAA.
got potential, though. d'Arnaud, I know this has been a huge bust in the season, but he's got serious potential. And we got about 10 seconds, and we're going to talk about something over the break that the Mets are already scouting relievers, and I have a name, and we're going to talk about it. So please stay tuned, and we'll see you after the break.
Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think.
Yes, it's Enjoy Life, Mondays at 11 with me, your joyologist, Naomi Joy. Here our guests reveal how they are bringing new pleasures, passions, and fun into their later years. You can, too. Enjoy Life, Mondays at 11.
Only on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
Keep calm. You may already have high blood pressure. Relax and find out with the free blood pressure screening available the second Wednesday of every month at 12 noon in the Westbury Memorial Public Library. For more info, call 516-333-0176 or visit westburylibrary.org. The Community Calendar is a public service from your friends at 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
All right. Well, sorry about that. This is happening for 2 weeks now. I've put in a report to the station about these commercials because some of them are not obviously working, and we're having trouble playing them. And there's nothing like labeled here, but whatever. The show must go on. So here is something interesting, and that I have it here. Hang on one second. I just got to pull up my notes. All right. So the Mets were among roughly 18 teams who have a scout on hand in Arizona, which is the Arizona Fall League.
Greg Holland?
Greg Holland. So now his showcase was on Monday. On Monday, I think that's today. I don't know when, but this is new, so it's today.
Yeah, it must have been today.
Holland, he's 30 years old. He had Tommy John surgery in October of 2015 and was non-tendered by the Royals shortly after. He had a 3.83 ERA and a 1.45 WHIP with 49 strikeouts, 26 walks for the Royals in 2016. Holland has posted a 2.42 ERA and 1.12 WHIP while striking out 430 batters in 319 and a half innings. That's 309 games during his 6-year career. The Mets were scouting him. They're going to be interested in him. What are your thoughts on this guy? Is this someone that could help our bullpen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially on the cheap because a player coming off Tommy John surgery and having a relative down year definitely kills the value for this guy. But the year before that, in 2015, oh, my God, this guy was the best reliever in all of baseball. Even for 3 years, he was the best reliever in baseball. He was the one that brought the Royals themselves on his back from pitching that ninth inning in the back of that bullpen for all of 2015.
Yeah.
He was better than Wade Davis. And if it wasn't for his bulky arm, he would have been the World Series champion. But then again, his arm gave up. So for the Mets to take a tryout on him, I don't see why not. I mean, even if it's for like $2-3 million, you think it's going to be worse than Antonio Bastardo? Remember that name? Because I almost forgot it.
That name.
But I mean, the guy. I mean, I think the reports are that he's throwing 92 miles per hour upwards to maybe 93, which is just a couple of miles per hour short of where he was pre-surgery. But it's to be expected. I'm more interested about his location and how his command of the fastball is going. But I can see no reason why not, especially going over to the senior circuit that is the National League. He's got to be facing much easier hitters. And he seems like he's a smart pitcher. So I'm all for it as a cheap option, but I'm not completely sold that he's the only relieving piece that the Mets need.
Well, of course it's early, but you're right. The bullpen, among other things on this team, is a mess. And I can't believe I just blacked out up until now. But how did I not, I'm losing my mind today, guys. But Jeurys Familia, I don't know if you heard the news, domestic violence.
He's a piece of crap.
Well, I mean, listen, I can't even believe, how could this escape my mind? What is wrong with me?
It's all good.
So I just remembered this now because we're talking about the bullpen.
You're in a time warp. You're a week ahead.
So listen, Jeurys Familia was arrested last week. They found his wife with a bruise on her cheek.
Was it his wife? I wasn't sure they'd specified the victim.
I didn't know.
I
assumed it was his wife.
It's an assumption that we can make
because
that it is his wife.
because he's married with a son, and
they said the person had a cut on their cheek and
on their cheek and a bruise
chest,
on their.
chest.
No, it was cheek. I remember reading cheek, but maybe it was chest. I don't know. But listen, he was arrested. He says he's at peace with his family. No charges are going to be filed. But that doesn't mean that baseball isn't going to give him a suspension, and they are going to give him a suspension because even if you're not tried in court, it doesn't matter. MLB's rules still suspend you. Like Jose Reyes, he was suspended, and he was never tried in court. So we have to assume that Familia will not be starting the season with the Mets. He will be on the suspended list. So that not only does that add to our reliever problem, but it's really bad. It's just bad because we already
also for the Mets, we have two potential wife beaters.
Yeah,
that's awful. I mean, it's just a bad, awful image.
For me, in Reyes' case, I mean, he says, I don't know how true it is, but he says he's been going to therapy about it. And listen, I've forgiven him, right? And it's ironic with Familia because he actually did an anti-domestic violence commercial for MLB
right a month before.
So it's ironic to say the least, that he made that commercial and then fell victim of it. There's obviously a problem, It's not just baseball. And baseball's relatively new on this, if I can't recall. I don't remember.
It's been kind of a big issue. I mean, it's kind of the most ridiculous part about this, and going back to the World Series, is everyone's forgotten the fact that Aroldis Chapman brought out a gun against his wife and shot it 6 times around her and threatened to kill her.
And
he was suspended only 30 games, I'm pretty sure, while Jose Reyes was up to 50 games.
Well,
and we're looking probably at Jeurys Familia being suspended for 60 to 80 games.
Yeah, I would say that because...
But the thing is, Chapman gets celebrated just because he could throw 103 miles per hour at the back end of his
here's the thing,
bullpen.
Listen, players apologize. It's really tough, right? I mean, baseball isn't the only sport. The most prevalent sport by far that this happens is football. I can't believe what I read about some of the football players, but it's terrible that this is happening in baseball. It's almost disheartening because, Jeurys Familia, I mean, he always seemed like a nice guy, and maybe he is, but that is just unacceptable. Never lay your hands on a woman like that. It's just it was upsetting, and it was shocking because you already had people saying, could he close? I mean, could he really close? Because it was that bad. Like, he blew it in the
3 blown saves in the World Series.
Yeah. So, you know what? That's it for me. That's it. He lost the close. If this is me, he lost the closing job, and you know who gets it? Addison Reed. He gets it.
No, I mean, I could see him doing it in the beginning of the year, but I don't know if Addison Reed can deal with that high pressure.
You don't think?
Because in the 8th inning, he had one of the best years of any setup man in the past decade.
You sure? But he can't move up to the 9th?
I mean, he can maybe do it as a part-time role, like while Jeurys Familia is gone. I don't think he can do a whole entire season because I just remember seeing him when he was at the Arizona Diamondbacks and also with the White Sox. When push came to shove towards the end of the season, this guy could not get it done. He could not perform there. And then that brings us more to the fact that it's like we can never have enough pitchers in the back end. Like we've seen that time and time again for the past couple of years, 3 years, how these teams have won the World Series. And as we were talking about before, how there's a new strategy where it's starting to shorten out the starting pitchers, where instead of making them go the third time through the order, which statistics have shown, the third time you go through the batting order
is the most vulnerable for
all pitchers. And like the batting average jumps up by at least 100 points, runs get doubled. Everything across the whole entire statistical board shows you that you can't have pitcher in for that long.
Because they know the stuff.
Yeah, they start recognizing the pitches. The pitcher starts wearing out, so there's not enough flash on it, not enough zip, not enough spin or drop. And so this is what happens. And that's why you need to have secure at the end, always knowing that you've got 4 guys that you can go to that can pitch maybe not only one, but multiple innings.
I'm sorry. I'm so disappointed in myself, honestly, that I remember the day that happened, I'm like, this is going to be big news for the show.
No, you messaged me about it. I was like, what the heck?
This is stuff that I would open the show with because it's that newsworthy, because anything with domestic violence is that newsworthy across the league. And again, this rule, or it's not really a rule, well, I guess it's a policy, is relatively new. It was just established in 2015, this whole domestic violence policy, and Reyes was the first person to be suspended by it.
No, really? I didn't remember that. I thought it was Chapman for some reason. But Chapman was after him. You're right. I think it was
Reyes first. But listen, so Familia isn't going to be there at the beginning of the season. So whether they're going to go out with Reed or they're going to go out with somebody, something needs to be done. More bullpen pieces need to be acquired. I mean,
who are you thinking of? If I may ask you and interrupt, sorry. But,
well, no, it's no problem. Well, first of all, I really like Holland. I think because from a budget standpoint, you're going to get him on the cheap. And listen, pitchers could come back from Tommy John surgery good. It's not always 100%.
But we've seen it happen even on our own rotation.
We've seen it happen on our own rotation multiple times. I say if we get this guy, Greg Holland, for cheap, it would be a great addition.
I think it's just not enough. I think you need to get one more solid bona fide piece.
Well, here's the thing. Well, who's like the number one guy? McLennan?
No. Wait, what? No, for closer relief pitching market, it has to be Aroldis Chapman, but you have to worry about his tear. But no way the Mets touch him following this most recent domestic abuse violation.
No, listen.
No way.
It's not even that. I
don't like the guy.
I don't think I personally, and you're gonna like sort of criticize it, but man, we got enough in the pen almost. We need like 2 more guys.
I mean, we won't have Blevins back. Like the only people that will be back is like Hansel Robles.
Oh yeah,
Familia,
Blevins is supposed to get a 3-year deal.
Reed.
So no, we need to go shopping in that department. But what I'm saying is, we could deal with some of the relievers we have like already. Like we got Robles. I know.
But we need like a lefty though. That's the problem. Is we don't really have a lefty.
Well, listen. I don't know, man. I really don't know the reliever market. You know, for me, like I am biased. Like I really just care about the bats. I know it's terrible, but for me, I don't know the relievers as well as I know my freaking outfielders and all that stuff. But I will say that, worst comes to worse, I know someone who doesn't have a market, and his name is John Neese. All right, there you go. There you go. Plot twist. You bring back John Neese on the super cheap. Super cheap. I don't even think
like
he
league
has
minimum, even like a $1.2 million would probably be his ceiling.
Super cheap. Does he even have a market? What did he break his back? What's up with the back injuries on this freaking
Ray
team?
Ramirez, you need to start figuring out how to get these backs going.
Because anything with a back is a problem. Okay?
Yeah, especially
Anything.
for baseball.
Yeah. It's just not good. You're bending, you're hitting, you're swinging, rapid motions. I mean, you see people with with golf, another sport. I mean, with something with your back, I think it's in any sport. Like, you can't just play with a freaking messed up back. Well, listen, the Mets, like we say, and like we're discovering as we talk about this, because I forgot about Blevins. We're probably not going to get Blevins back. Mets have holes.
And Salas is
Huge.
gone too.
They got so many. Yeah, him too. They got so many holes in this thing. Some people go, I see people on Twitter, I see people on Facebook, they go, 2017, baby, World Series. And I go, have you seen these holes? And I know the offseason hasn't really started yet. I think it really starts to get going leading up to the winter meetings. But, boy, there are some serious holes that if most of them don't get addressed, I don't see them getting there. And I think if the biggest one isn't addressed, which is something going with the bats, is a problem. Because I know the relief pitching is a struggle. We have the starters, but we don't have hitting. And hitting in the relief, those are our holes. And if those aren't fixed, there's going to be problems. And, the Nationals, I know we're looking to next year, but Daniel Murphy, Bryce Harper, good guys. I don't know who else they got. They got the guy Trey Turner now. They're starting to be freaking dangerous. They always got their pitching staff, which if their pitching staff is as healthy as ours, they're just as good. They're just as good with the pitching. So you just got to watch out for the Nationals. And that's why these holes need to be fixed. And if Cespedes goes to the Nationals, it's over. It's over.
All Mets dreams, hopes, fantasies.
No matter who you get Fowler, because Cespedes is going to hit like 500 with the Nationals. Mark my words. I mean, he will just destroy with Harper and Murphy. It's just going to be over. And Turner.
Their lineup is so dangerous.
It's their lineup is so dangerous. And what about ours? I mean, who we got? We got Reyes.
Yeah, who are you excited about? Is there any names truly exciting?
Well, there's one guy. You ready? You ready for this? Here's my prediction. David Wright is going to play 100 games this year. All right? He's going to play this big boy prediction. David Wright, I got his name on my ring, literally on my replica.
On your finger right now.
National League Championship ring. David Wright, my favorite player of all time. He is going to be, he'll hit 265. 20 home runs. Jesus.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad, actually.
I'm down
optimistic.
for that.
I mean, the batting average sounds about right. The home runs, I could say 15 to 20.
15 to 20. If he could just stay there, I believe he could have sort of a semi bounce back season, because every time he's been back, he's hit. When he was in the 3-hole, or I think he was in the 2-hole, he had the highest on-base percentage on the team. It wasn't bad. But the problem was, and people go, oh, the strikeouts. Highest on-base percentage on the team. Yeah. It's fine. He was still getting his hits. It's just that when he's not, it's funny because we've been this close to the World Series. We've been in the World Series. Well, I guess that year we were in the World Series with Wright at the end. But we did as good as we did in 2016, and that's without Wright. That's without Duda, even though I don't think Duda's that good.
But it wasn't the Duda
but,
from you.
Without a lot of people, without Walker at the end, without Cabrera for multiple weeks, without Cespedes for a week or two. So if we could get that far, we're only if we get Cespedes back, or we do get, maybe Fowler is the type of guy for New York. I don't know, right? Maybe Terry Collins wants to be Joe Madden and bat the pitcher eighth every day and put Dexter Fowler in the second leadoff spot. Let's get creative. Let's get jiggy with it. Let's go, because if David Wright could even have a season like that, even 250, if David Wright could hit 250. Hit around 15, 20 home runs. That's a comeback, in my opinion. It's not the old David Wright, but that's as good as we're going to get. That's what we're going to get.
David Wright,
you know what? I'm taking that because that's better than a lot of people on this team right now.
Yeah, zombie David Wright, I'm willing to take it.
And I love David Wright, favorite player. I mean, this is so appropriate. I mean, the show is over in about 5 minutes, but I gotta say, David Wright, I miss you. All right, I miss seeing. Don't you miss him?
Captain
on the field
America.
every day?
He was the next face of baseball after Derek Jeter.
I'm sorry, but I miss him, man. I really, really miss him. I felt like I haven't seen David Wright play baseball in a long time. And you want to know why? Because it's true.
Because he hasn't.
Because he hasn't played baseball in a long time. I remember, man, 2006, 2007, 2008. I mean, these are the first years I started watching baseball. I mean, and he instantly became my favorite player because, well, now Reyes is back. But Reyes was also one of my favorite players. And they're the only two players on the Mets that were on when I started watching. And just... them two in the infield together were it was iconic. I'm never going to forget it. Watching, Reyes at the shortstop, right at third, I mean.
Right bringing the thunder, Reyes bringing the lightning on the base paths.
If we could even get a fraction of Wright and we get him for a long duration, this team could win a few more games. I'm going to go that far because David Wright, he's a legend in this freaking town.
Yeah.
All right? I know he's not as big as Derek Jeter, because, Derek Jeter's on the Yankees and stuff, but, for a while, those were the two guys, David Wright was prime. Man, and that, believe it or not, that was Sandy Alderson, man. That was Sandy Alderson who gave him that contract.
Oh, the extension? Yeah, which is very anti-Sandy.
Very anti-Alderson. So, maybe something could get done. Maybe that's why that type of stuff where I bet you Alderson goes to the owners and go, no one's showing up if you don't extend Wright. This guy's our franchise. And Cespedes has become that type of guy, and maybe he's going to go back and say, yo, you guys can't be cheap on this. This is serious. You want to keep your fan base. You want to keep the profit margins up. There is no possible way,
But there's also, you got to fill up, as you said, there's so many different holes and gaps that you can spend that money around, and you can be making huge gains. I mean, for one of these elite closers like Melanson, it'll only cost you about $12 million per year. Which is which is a third of what it'll cost Yoenis.
Listen, if you want to run your ball club cheap, like I said, that's absolutely fine, and that's already debatable. But that's fine. You just got to spend it right. And when I see when you spend money on Duda, when you spend I don't know how much he's gonna get, if you spend almost $20 million on Duda or something, that's not being responsible. I mean, if you're gonna be cheap, you have little money, you got to cut the guys that don't perform. Duda. And I said it today to my friend Nardello. I said, Duda and Bruce are exactly the type of baseball players I would not want on my team, because they might hit 30 home runs, but they don't get it done. They don't get it done.
You don't know when they're coming.
You don't know when those home runs are coming, and when they're cold, they're cold. If I was Sandy Alderson, and let's say this team started from scratch, I'd build on base percentage, not home runs, because this team's built on home runs. And listen, it's too late now. Right? It's too late. This team isn't going to go to the on-base percentage team. It's never going to be like that. But if we could add some pieces that could get on base, that would be big. Like last year, seriously, since the Seattle Pilots in 1969. I mean, if that doesn't say that we need on base, I don't know what is. That's just, it's terrible,
We need to get more quality instead of this quantity in the outfield.
Sorry,
we need to stop the log jams.
Yeah, the outfield. And what about Juan Lagares? Listen, the guy mashes lefties. If this guy hit righties, he'd be the full-time guy. But he can't, and he hasn't. So that's his problem. But he mashes lefties. I remember he's in the fall leagues right now. Not the fall leagues, the Caribbean.
In the Arizona fall league?
No. The name of the country is escaping me. But he's in winter ball.
Yeah.
I actually watched some of his games, and every day I would look. I go, did he hit the righty? No. Did he hit the lefty? Yes. He mashes the lefties. But that's why if Cespedes isn't there, we got to find a platoon partner for him that could hit righties. And, of course, that's going to be the guy that plays the most because There's more righties than baseball.
Yeah, just pure numbers.
So basically, and if that's why if we sign Fowler, right? Let's just say we sign Fowler. He's probably going to play center. I mean, that's assuming we don't have Cespedes. I think he's played center for Chicago.
Yeah, he's playing center field for them, yeah.
I feel like he would play center. And
that or Ian Desmond, maybe.
But here's the thing about, well, I would like that too, but here's the thing that I would really, really like about Fowler is, first of all, it would eliminate the need for Lagares because Fowler, again, the splits I looked at this morning, 293 against lefties. So it's like he's hitting good against lefties. He's hitting good against righties. Unless you want to put Lagares somewhere else.
Which it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense because he can't hit righties. So you could be a platoon player in baseball. It's just that if you sign this guy Dexter Fowler, you don't need a platoon. The guy could play full time. So there's a problem. There's already a problem. And listen, Juan in 2014, some of the most amazing catches like I've ever seen. Seriously, some of those crazy catches. But the problem is he just can't hit. And we saw it in 2015. It was disgusting how bad he was against righties. Again, lefties. I mean, it's just amazing how you could hit lefties, but you can't hit righties. Oh, well, that's the end, boys. That's how we end on the piano riff. I was just looking to see if we were going over. Next week we're gonna be talking about a lot. I don't know what because the week hasn't happened yet. But
after these GM meetings, we'll be on better solid feeding. Let's go.
Right, let's go. Hope the commercials play. Have a good one.
Looking for some informal stress relief and a relaxing way to get to know your neighbors? Try adult coloring. It's like coloring for kids, but harder to stay in the lines. It's on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. in the Port Washington Public Library. For more info, call 516-883-4400 or visit pwpl.org. The community calendar is a public service from your friends at 88.1 FM and WCWP.org.
WCWP Brookville, from the North Shore of Nassau, 88.1 FM and beyond. WCWP.org.